On April 19th, and this is an anonymous note we have here. On April 19th, I found out that my wife of 12 years has been having an affair with a 26-year-old from her work. That's just the first sentence. There's already things to take note of. Number one, the gentleman writes, I found out. So I'm already curious to know how he found out exactly. When he says my wife of 12 years, we'd probably assume that they were married no earlier than age 18, which would make her a minimum of 30 years old. I'm sure he'll share what age she is later, or I hope, but she'd be no less than age 30. The person she was having an affair with is age 26, which lets us know already that she's a female in crisis. She is not well. It is not the female nature to lay down indiscriminately. This is the healthy female. It is not the healthy female's nature to deal with males who are her junior. And I've spoken before about the fact that females who would deal with younger males are generally looking to dominate. They're looking to feel empowered and exercise power over a male. They have a target that is easier to manipulate, a target that is less experienced and sophisticated. And so they are actually in the higher part of the hierarchy in that relationship dynamic. So this is very strange and reeks of a female who is not healthy. Furthermore, the writer states that his wife met this individual, this young man, at work. I've made a video which is available to the members at patreon.com/thesaintandthesinner, as well as theassassin.com. And in that video, it talks about the fact that women should not work outside of the household, ideally. And if they must work for an employer, it would probably be best if they work for an employer that allows them to work remotely, ideally, or in an all-female environment. You put males and females together, you're creating a recipe for disaster, especially when you're constantly tempting the male and the female 8 hours a day, every day, or not every day, but just 5 days out of 7, which is quite a bit. So they're spending concentrated time with another male, perhaps in some cases more time than they spend with you as their husband, right? 8 times 3 would be 24. You sleep 8 hours, you spend 8 hours at work, you might spend an hour in traffic. So yeah, they're pretty much spending more time with their work husband than they are with their real husband. And then we expect things not to go awry. So that's something to be cautious of, the environment in which your lady works. Ideally, she works for you. She works within the home. She works remotely, or she works with women only. He writes, before I found out, the day before, I noticed she had a Text Now app on her computer, which she blamed on my daughter, and it was false. When I told her she was lying, she became infuriated and started hitting me and was yelling, "Get out, get out." So we're just a couple sentences in, and it's been so instructive so far. I mean, there's just so much that we can extract from this. So number one, she's clearly a dishonest individual. That's as clear as day, because she's lying. But what's worse is that not only is she dishonest, all human beings lie. Of course, there's degree to it. There are levels of lying that's truly pathological. But the fact that she would throw your daughter and her daughter under the bus, her own flesh and blood, to cover over her lies, number one, makes you wonder what else she's blamed on the child. Number two, makes you wonder what kind of lies she's trying to get the child to collaborate with her on. And number three, it lets you know that she'll go to any extent, like she really engages in filthy thinking and behavior. You should be deeply concerned. She lied on her own flesh and blood, her child. And number two, she even had the nerve to get angry when busted, as though she was correct and justified. So these are hugely concerning behaviors, but that's not it. Shout out to Emperor Jason Paul supporting the work. Came in via PayPal, sent in tuition. May I also acknowledge Miles? He writes, peace to the saints. Same throughout all of your life experiences, dealing and observing women. How many women would you say cheat in long-term relationships? He's talking about as a percentage. I really couldn't say because the women that I would be in a long-term relationship with have been pre-selected. So as a result, I don't have a great sense of what an average woman is likely to do. But your great effort should be to not be an average man and to not deal with average women. So you select a female based on her values, based on her history, based on her family. And that'll lead you to the promised land. There's a number of behaviors that you know are going to favor you, like a woman not drinking, for example, a woman not being a career woman, things like that. He writes, and what percentage of men have no idea of the infidelity? Oh, I think that women are extremely slick, and the nature, the type of females who cheat choose the type of guys who will accept it and deal with it. Guys who tend to be nicer or even sincerely kind, unsuspecting, and guys whom they do not fear. He writes, stay safe, Saint. I know it has to be stressful in your position. Sending love from Texas. I appreciate it. No stress. At the end of the day, if one is qualified to be the king, then he can deal with all things involved in being a king, the king's appetite, a king's burdens, and a king's privileges. So I appreciate that. And that's why I always remind you, gentlemen, you guys are leaders, and everything that is involved with you being a man, that is an appropriate weight for you. It's not too much weight. It's an appropriate weight, and you should enjoy lifting it. May I also acknowledge Anthony, who came in via Venmo. He writes, tuition from St. Anthony, please continue. Sir, yes, sir. Shout out to the real ones. May I also acknowledge Emmanuel came in with a baller alert. Writes, peace to the saints, tuition, grateful for the assassin and you, big homie. I appreciate that. Thank you. We do have a very special thing here. Shout out to Hawk, writes, peace to the saints. Carrying on. And I'll reread this sentence. This is a wild one. Before I found out, the day before, I noticed she had a Text Now app on her computer, which blamed my daughter, which she blamed on my daughter, and it was false. When I told her she was lying, she became infuriated and started hitting me and yelling, get out. Now, we've already established that women can be delusional. They can be hysterical. So it's not entirely shocking that she might get physical, but it is also worth noting that there's a certain type of woman that is inclined to becoming physical, even though physicality does not favor the female. So you're dealing with a woman that is more hysterical, more emotional, more unhinged, more delusional if she defaults to violence, where in reality, violence doesn't favor the female against the male. So that's of concern. Secondly, it tells you that she has perhaps rightly estimated you if you don't, reach back like a pea and slap the daylights out of her. She's rightly estimated that she can get over on you with that behavior. And then secondly, there's no fear there. And, Book of Dark Truths, I address this kind of thing. So I highly recommend those of you who need an elaboration, check out the Book of Dark Truths, because I talk specifically about this. I also talk about cohabitation with the female. I talk about the female involved in your business, critical topics. Anyways, carrying on, reads, fast forward to the next day. We had a convo early in the morning and she started crying so hard, saying, quote, I don't know why you don't trust me at all. All I do is work, go to school, and try to go to dance practice because it's what I love. And I'm always home. 30 minutes later, she fell asleep. So I finally got the opportunity to go through her phone for the first time, and I found everything out. So there's a couple things here that are concerning. Number one, when you write fast forward to the next day, something you didn't mention, and I understand why, but it would be worth perhaps noting is, well, after you busted her lying, where did you both sleep that night? Did you sleep together in the marital bed? Did you sleep on the couch? Did she sleep on the couch? These are important considerations, because the truth of the matter is that For example, in Islam, it gives a prescription for this. When you believe that the woman has been unfaithful or vice versa, A, there should be good evidence and or witnesses. And then B, sharing the marital bed is not an appropriate thing. If you're planning on, ending the relationship, you would cast her out, or you would leave out of the marital bed. So that's something to consider. Not in terms of any conflict, but in terms of something like this, right? Like, this is quite serious when a female has been unfaithful. It's something that signals a lot of turmoil, a lot of trauma in her. It signals her being emotionally invested in another man, her breaking apart a family. This is radically different than a male engaging with a female sexually, which could just be carnal desires and often is. So we're getting into some heavy stuff. Shout out to Omar. He writes, shout out to MDB. He is truly inspiring good people. What would be the best way to get back into school in the IT field? 24 years old, HVAC technician, looking for a change. Well, you should be looking for an improvement. And when you say the IT field, well, the first thing I would figure out is what is both profitable and of interest to you. Once you can identify that intersection, that's where you would start to study. I often recommend cybersecurity, but you have to figure out, is IT something that I have the mind for and the patience for? JC writes, peace to the saints. The ism is the ism. I just became a teacher. Got the book yesterday, 5 chapters in, 5-star, well-deserved. Peace to the saints tuition. I appreciate that. And those of you who have read the book on Amazon, I appreciate if you pop up your review such that others understand the nature of the book. May I also acknowledge George supporting the work via Venmo. And George's been a longtime supporter. Shout out to Rodney, comes in with the baller alert via PayPal. Shout out to the ballers that showed up. He writes, peace to the saints. Saint, I find myself putting on my hooded cloak while listening to the Book of Dark Truths conference. Thank you, Saint, for that. You are a real one. I appreciate you. And shout out to the folks who were at the Book of Dark Truths Summit, and also the folks who got the footage and are being blessed with that truth, those harsh truths that are going to let you empower you to win and also ease your experience in this world. Once you understand what's going on, then things aren't bothering you as much. By the way, the ballers that showed up. Shout out to the ballers. Shout out to Juan. He writes, peace to the saints. Tuition paid. I hope all is well. And thank you for the wisdom you provide. I appreciate that. All is well. I'm very thankful and very blessed, very happy. Been having a lot of fun, taking a lot of risks. Life is good. Also, shout out to Paul. Paul, always supporting the work, often pops in his super thanks on videos that have been posted as pre-records. So shout out to Paul. Carrying on. Okay, so fast forward to the next day. We had a convo early in the morning and she started crying. One thing I want you all to remember is that, crying doesn't mean they're not lying. Just because they're crying doesn't mean they're not lying. Yeah, no, they're still lying. And what's more, the greater length that the person goes to, you really can understand that this individual is in fact a con artist. You come to understand that this woman is a great manipulator and deceiver, extremely heartless, and has no love left for you. So the greater length she goes to, the more you have to be concerned. And the truth is, when you watch those true crime documentaries, and it is not unreal, impossible that your lady could try to take you out, because what she's demonstrating is an utter lack of regard. And this is pretty much what you observe in the psychopathic females who try to take out their husbands to get away with, a payment from the will or payment from life insurance and start their new life with their new man. So if I were you, would I sleep in that marital bed with her? Well, no, I wouldn't. Either she has to go or I have to go. But I would not close my eyes and go into a state of relaxation and unconsciousness while being in the midst of someone who very well might despise and hate you. So I want to caution all of you men, not to be paranoid, but to be thoughtful. Yes, not to be paranoid, but to be thoughtful. Keep yourself safe. Value your life as it should be valued. Shout out to Eric supporting the work. Now also acknowledge Paul came right back, writes, peace to the saints. Yes, indeed. Oh, shout out to Eric. That's Eric I had the pleasure of meeting in Saint City. And shout out to all the saints who have had the honor of, coming to Saint City and also being able to drop in the headquarters and meet up with the other men. Anyways, he writes, she starts crying so hard, yelling, quote, I don't know why you don't trust me, because you're lying. All I do is work, go to school. And this is a female thing, right? They're 30 years old, 40 years old, 50 years old, still going to school. Why? Because they're not linear thinkers. They've not decided on a academic path that leads to gainful employment. They do it to get, respect and self-esteem or be an intellectual as opposed to, have some real skills in a trade. I just go to school and try to go to dance practice because it's what I love. You in your 30s and you feel the need to be a dancer. Fantastic. That's a young woman's game. And it also doesn't pay. But it's, if you like it, fantastic. Carry on. I'm always at home. Well, that's a lie. You just stated that you go to work, you go to school, and you go to dance practice. That's actually quite a few things. That's a lot of time out of the house. So I'm always home is a flat out lie. 30 minutes later, she fell asleep. So I finally got the opportunity to go through her phone for the first time, and I found out everything. Now, would I go through her phone? No, I wouldn't. But I understand desperate times call for desperate measures. I totally get that. But what we all should be aware of is the fact that even before going through that phone, certainly, if you stay sharp out there, you should be able to get a sense of these things. Like, you don't want these things to catch you off guard. That's when it hurts the most. And I often use boxing as a metaphor because it isn't a great metaphor in as much as they say it's the punch that you don't see that will knock you out. It's the punch that you don't see that will hurt you. Similarly, if you did not see that your wife could possibly be an adulterer, a liar, a deceiver, then it's going to hurt all the more because she's torn away a fantasy and torn away a lie that you've sustained yourself on. So I'm encouraging all of you not to be investigators, but to be sharp and to be mindful. And also, you're a man, you're a leader. You are one who is a designer of your life, and design a life where there are fewer opportunities, where human beings have less time to deal with the burden of temptation. So, if you have a woman that's working with a bunch of guys, then we should be trying to design a situation wherein she works in a female dominated field or in an office with all women, or she works remotely, or she works for you, or she works with one of the lady saints. That's what you should be trying to design. Shout out to Kenneth. He writes, tuition whilst you're still here. Thank you. I appreciate that. Shout out to the real ones who know that the clock is ticking on all of the true the men who stand for real principles. All of these guys on YouTube talk about the manosphere, yet they're hosting harlots constantly, or they're hosting skittle guzzlers. You have to wonder how much they actually believe in what they're saying when they are actually collaborators and business partners with the very parties and individuals and ideologies that go against everything in the interest of civilization and men and patriarchy. Anyways, the gentleman writes, 30 minutes later, she fell asleep. So I finally got the opportunity to go through her phone for the first time, and I found out everything. I called the guy. Now, see, that's something I don't know if I would have done that unless there was like a necessity. So we'll see if there was. And, one of the worst things we can do is react emotionally or to succumb to anger. I'm not saying you should never engage in violence. I'm saying you should not succumb to anger. Even if you were to engage in violence, if you were actually calm or, you decided to do it out of rationality, that's a different thing. So I really want to caution everyone on that. There's a hadith wherein a young man comes to the Prophet Muhammad and asks, "O wise prophet, what advice would you give a young man?" And the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, says, "Do not get angry." And the young man says, "Oh, great, I appreciate that. What other advice would you give a young man?" And the Prophet Muhammad says, "Don't get angry." And the young man says, "Oh, okay, all right, I get you. Point well taken. What other advice would you give a young man?" And the Prophet Muhammad says, "Oh yeah, there's this other one. Don't get angry." which is to emphasize the importance of that. Do not get angry. You will always be in control of yourself. You will have an opportunity to be in control of the situation. Anger burns things down. Don't get angry. Great advice. I also acknowledge Yusuf supporting the work. I appreciate you. Since discovered you last week, peace to the saints. Reading the Black Box now. Genius level Black men are rare. Who else fits in this category? It says, thinking of Phil Ivey. Phil is a bright one. Shout out to Phil. Shout out to all the folks in Saint City. He writes Robert F. Smith. Yeah, billionaire. Carrying on. He writes, I called the guy. While I had him on the phone, I woke her up and asked, who is this? She quickly and nervously said, quote, it's just a guy I work with. She then rolled over facing the wall and just laid there silent. I said, you're a liar. I'm not going to read this. This might be her name. He says, you're a liar. And she, in a monotone voice, said, fine. I cheated. Yeah, I cheated. Now, you know what? Again, don't get angry. Take the actions that are appropriate, but don't get angry. See, and you might have gotten angry and went ahead and went Ike Turner on the bed. You might have done that, but that wouldn't be the right thing to do. There are much more clever ways to do things than that. I'm shocked by all the anger and theatrics. Now imagine she's cheating on you, but she's mad. She's destroying your family, but she's mad. Imagine. And now she's acting like she cheated because of all these things I allegedly was not giving her. Oh, there's always an excuse. Yes, a criminal never says, you got me, I'm coming clean. I was wrong. No, they're always innocent and they always have an explanation that we can expect. There's a narrative. I talk about this in the Book of Dark Truths. Now she's acting like she wants me to move on and that she's focused on school. She's about to be 33. Now, here's a funny thing. And again, I don't recommend education for tertiary education for women. I think if you go to proper primary school and secondary school, that's plenty education for the overwhelming majority of mankind, especially women. Now, here's the thing. She's focused on school, but why? To what end? We'll hear later. It's ludicrous. That's number one. But what you need to understand is that often you could spot out this danger early because it's the female who is a career woman, not a family woman, but a career woman that you need to be suspicious of. It's the female who is focused on her job, focused on her schooling. And those are the places she derives her self-worth, respect, and happiness from. Well, of course, she's going to be the one that's inclined to destroy the family and sacrifice the family or deprioritize the family. So these things shouldn't surprise you at all. He writes, I don't recognize her anymore. Well, there's a number of reasons for that. Number one, she may have been wearing a cloak when she met you. Number two, you may have not assessed her values correctly early on, or her trajectory, or what's most important to her. And number three, if you don't recognize her, at some level that can make sense because the female human is actually going through hormonal changes throughout their life. And the changes are significant. At age 33, she's in the earlier stages of oncoming menopause. So yes, it will affect her personality and temperament. He writes, we have a daughter, and she even said disrespectful things to me, like the guy she cheated with has, oh no. Yeah, this is wild. I just had to preview it because she's saying some wild stuff. He says, we have a daughter, and the wife, the cheating wife, said things to him that are disrespectful, like the guy she's cheating with, that she's having intercourse with, that he reminds, this guy reminds her of the husband. that they kind of look alike, and that if there's a will, there's a way. If he wanted to be with her, he would find a way to reach out. So basically, she's telling the husband that this fella is, she's open to this fella. The husband needs to move on. And this fella is basically his younger replacement. That's essentially what it's cut. Yeah, he's your younger replacement. Wow. She has had a tendency in the past to try to bait me to argue and say things to make me mad. I immediately packed my stuff and left. That might have been a wise idea. He writes, I want her to see what she's missing out on. Oh, my dear brother, this saddens me to hear you say that and to know that you were thinking that. The reason that it saddens me is because you think that there is hope where there is no hope. Male infidelity and female infidelity are wildly different. A female who not only has been cheating on you, but after getting busted, lied to you about it. This is one who is unrepentant. She didn't admit it. She came clean because you thoroughly busted her. You see, if she was at any level repentant, if at any level she felt guilty or wrong, when you first said, hey, you're being unfaithful, she wouldn't have gotten angry. She surely wouldn't have yelled and started hitting you. She would have broke down in tears and conceded, I am ashamed. How did I become this person? This is not who I was raised to be. This is not who I would want our daughter to be. I am ashamed. I've done wrong. Please forgive me. Take me back. Please cover over my wickedness. How can we correct my thinking? She would have broken down. You see, when you're wrong and you're repentant, that's all you can do is break down and acknowledge that you are a despicable character. In my book, The Black Box, I grew up in poverty and came from a criminal family, and keeping with family tradition, I was engaged in crime, economic crimes. And there was a time in which, some of the folks I was running with were gang members, hustlers of various stripe. There was a particular lick, in LA, we say you hit a lick, which is a metaphor for, making a cash grab. There's a particular lick that one of my boys had hit, and I was with him, and it was really low down. And at that point, I realized I was a despicable character. And, you can't make excuses for yourself when you are a despicable, low down dirtbag. It's the truly wicked who, when they're doing something wrong, they don't feel wrong. Yeah. When they're doing something wrong, they think they're still doing the right thing. Why? Because they don't have that natural sense of right and wrong that keeps them from doing evil. Yes. So when you first told her, hey, you've been unfaithful, and then she lied, yelled, got angry, hit you, and denied it, then went to sleep, that woman right there is not going to come back around. Then when she woke up and then you called the guy, which really was quite a far step you took, but I understand you're dealing with someone who has a real psychological issue, pathological liar, true deceiver, and manipulator. You're like, hey, I got to get this guy on the line. Like, let me show you I know that this is real. And at that point, you're already playing into her head games because you knew she was lying. You ain't got to prove to her that she's lying. There's no court of law. You don't have to proffer evidence. But you're already playing into her head game. And I trust that she's run many head games on you. And this young boy that she's trying to switch into your place temporarily, he's 26. He ain't going to go for it. But I'm sure she runs rings around him with the head games as well. And it's quite sad. Shout out to Chung writes, thanks for the cat stock. You have any, that stock talk right now. Yeah, I'm actually been liquidating much of my portfolio. I guess I shouldn't say liquidating. I've been selling a lot because my stock is up. So I've been selling a lot. That's what I do when it's up. But I want you all to remember this. Happiness is the greatest measure. People who spend their time hating on others, they don't have happiness. That's not a fun thing to hate and be all negative. I want you guys to remember this. Haters are devils among us. These are actual demons, and their job is to distract you from God's work. Their job is to distract you from goodness, distract you from happiness. The best thing you can do is ignore them and not engage them. Because the moment you start engaging too many of them, then you're not going to be focused on winning. and then they win. You dig? Yeah, I'm not gonna let nobody jaw rule me. You dig? No, sir, Bob. I ain't about to let nobody K-dot me. You dig? And I will be doing a review of the Kendrick and Drake because there's a lot of lessons there. Carrying on. Oh, and by the way, thank you to the people who make this content about me. I'm famous. I'm a famous celebrity. I appreciate it. I'm a famous celebrity. And by the way, I want everyone to really think twice. Like really think about the moves you make. Think about how you do certain things. Just be thoughtful as men. Be thoughtful as men. Think about the impact of what you do, the impact of what you say. Think about, don't just think one, 2, 3, 4, 5. And let me give you guys some advice on being successful and being a good leader. Good leaders, you're not just thinking for yourself. You're thinking for others as well. Like when I'm in St. City, Vegas, I always avoid taking the freeway. Why? Because I can't drive for other people. I can be a great driver, but if I'm alongside others who are in a rush or they're thoughtless or they're text messaging, they can take my life with their automobile, and I have no control over that. You see, intelligent people, we have to think for ourselves and think for others. And knowing that I'd be susceptible to others' poor thinking, I don't take the freeway when I can avoid it. You guys might have to think for yourself and think for your wife. You might have to think for yourself and think for your children. You have to plan for yourself and plan for your family. So men, be thoughtful, pay attention, be sharp out here. Think about consequences and impact. Anyways, carrying on. So the gentleman writes, I want her to see what she's missing out on. So he said he packed his stuff and left, and he wants her to see what she's missing out on, which indicates that he's trying to salvage the marriage. And you know what? I'm all about family and family staying together. But and truth be told, to me, female infidelity is like completely filthy. I don't know if you were having intercourse with your wife over the last 6 months or the last year, but just the idea that she would have intercourse with another man. She's obviously a person who walks on the wild side. Was she using condoms? Who knows? You'll never get the truth of that. But what if she was not? Is she on birth control? Who knows? But what if she's on birth control, wasn't using condoms, and he was ejaculating inside of your wife, and then she comes home and you're engaging her with oral intercourse or even kissing her, or just all of these things are quite filthy and inconsiderate. So like it would be very hard for me to forgive in general. Now, if she was repentant, you might consider it. But in this case, she was not repentant at all. So you think that you're trying to teach her a lesson. She's been with you for 12 years. You don't think she knows who you are and what you're about? Come on. The problem is that with you having been with her for 12 years, that she feels like she knows you. And she knows she's not happy with you. She knows like fill in the blank things about you, which are fixed. It's a fixed view. And this frozen view that she has of you will not be altered. I've been with women for a much shorter time. And once one certain thing goes wrong and they have a particular view of you, it's not going to change. Unfortunately, it's just not going to change. And I hate to say that, but sometimes you need someone who's outside of the situation to address it. And let all of you guys know, because I know those who follow me, you're kind-hearted, and me too. And the toughest thing is to deal with those who are not like us. You see, those who are not kind-hearted. That's why in the 3 Cents Bible, we say, be yourself, which is to be kind-hearted. Be good to yourself, prioritize yourself. And then number 3, be good to good people. Yes, if you surround yourself with good people, there's nothing wrong with being kind-hearted because it'll always come back to you. But you put yourself at great risk when you're a kind-hearted, saintly person and you're around those who are wicked, because you might be kind to them, but what are they going to do to you? They're just going to take and take and take till there's nothing left to take, till they bled you dry, leave you suffering. So no, this does not sound good to me. Now, do what you want to do as a man, but I'm telling you as a person who believes deeply in family and hates to see family break. He writes, I want her to suffer. Okay. Well, you leaving might not make her suffer. Let me tell you a funny story. You leaving might make it more convenient. She call up old boy like, he's out of here. You ain't got to sneak in no more. You could come in freely when you want to. We ain't got to spend hotel money. We saving hella money. Come over right now. Matter of fact, I need it in my life. So it's like, bro, like you think you making her suffer? She already got a whole nother man. And her life is filled with things. So she got school, she got work, she got dance practice, and she got her side dude. So there's not any emptiness really left by your absence. So you might be overestimating the void that you're creating by leaving. You might be creating not a void, but rather a greater opportunity. And, I can't even lie to you. I'd be damned if she gonna cheat on me in my home. You heard me? Shit. Individual writes, success is the best revenge. Well, you shouldn't be revenge oriented. Truth be told, like revenge is a sickness in the heart. If you take revenge, it's to stop the person from trying to hurt you. And it's also to deter others from hurting you. But if you're focused on success for the purpose of getting revenge or showing off the people you don't even like or respect, that's twisted. Become successful because that's who you are. I'm a winner, so I win. You dig? Like, I'm not going to go win because I want to show some broad. I'm a win because that's all I know. So you don't want to be negative focused. You don't want to be punishment focused. You don't want to be vengeance focused. So just remember, keep that goodness. Don't let her steal that away from you. The gentleman writes, I'm angry. And now after I found out, literally the next day, all her family could think to ask me is if I could sign a child travel agreement for my daughter to get a passport to travel to the Philippines for a family trip they had planned without me. So this is extremely problematic, and it shows that you have not been in a dominant position as a patriarch. A patriarch is the male leader. The leader is the one who signs off, who approves, who gives permission. This trip shouldn't have been planned without you. You heard me? Listen, they should have got permission to plan the trip. You always have veto power. So the fact that the trip was planned without you lets us know that you were not exercising your leadership capacity. So that's an error on your part. Okay, that's number one. And mind you, we're just giving you criticism and feedback right now. But this is with imperfect information. Everyone makes mistakes. You might have done everything else perfectly, right? Everything you've done might be perfect. We're just looking at a couple things that where there are some shortcomings. And also, let us not be insulting in the comments. I'm not aiming to insult. I'm just aiming to give critical feedback so that we can make the right moves moving forward. And remember, the difference between us as civilized people, it doesn't make sense for us to insult one another, right? Like, you don't insult people that are within your culture, within your family, within your value set. Those are not your enemies, ladies and saints. Those are your friends. So be mindful of your mouths, please. Respectful, self-respect, respect for others. Anyway, so they're trying to get a travel agreement for the daughter to go out of the country. Yeah, like if I were you, I would reduce the number of variables in life right now, which is to say, hell nah, I ain't signing it for a variety of reasons. But one major reason, I don't trust this woman. And so I'm not going to allow someone I don't trust to take my child out of the country. Now, that ain't happening. Now, that's presuming that you care about and love the child, and this is like a prized child to you. And that's an assumption. And, Book of Dark Truths, you guys really, you know what I'm talking about here. But if you don't care about the kid and it doesn't matter and you'd rather the kid go away, go ahead and sign it. I always want to acknowledge that there's a spectrum of possibilities. And so I don't want to go with what is assumed or seems obvious. Anyways, he writes, talking about it's the grandma's last trip because she's old. Yeah, I don't care. And my wife said, if I don't sign the papers, she has no choice but to take me to court for sole custody and child support because, quote, that's what the court told her to do. Well, then you're going to have to take me to court then. And let me let you all know, anytime you yield to a threat, you're going to suffer, because when you yield to a threat, you show weakness and fear. And what do bullies thrive on? Weakness and fear. What allows a bully to operate? Weakness and fear. Bullies, you can only fight them. That's all you can do. Power only yields to more power. So if she's threatening you now, all she's going to do is continue threatening you and probably take you to court anyways eventually. So fight. Fight. That's what I tell all of you guys to do in every case. Fight. Whatever it is, fight. He writes, I want revenge. I bet you do, my boy. And it can be had. Yes, it can definitely be had. And remember, what you do should be intelligently designed. Yes, intelligently designed, calculated risk. I don't know how to go about this. I got a new job making $43 an hour and turned my life around. I'd messaged you before saying I was a fentanyl addict before. I made $180 for this woman who I genuinely believed was a good woman. Okay, so I think it means 180-degree turn. Well, see, that's another problem. You got to do that for yourself. And that's one of the hardest things is showing self-love. And I know you guys might be mind-boggled because it sounds wrong, but it is true. One of the hardest things is for us to show self-love. You know, we'll do some things for our kids, our children that we wouldn't do for ourselves. We'll do things for our parents, our friends, our siblings, our girlfriend, our love interest that we wouldn't do for ourselves. You know how many men have gotten into good physical shape trying to get abroad? You know, guys are now getting BBLs. It's extraordinary. But to do it for yourself, just because you love yourself, you pride yourself, we won't do it. And that's why I often speak against what is commonly stated. People speak ill of pride. They speak ill of ego, but a man needs an ego and a man needs pride. Take pride in your appearance, pride in your hygiene, pride in your work products. So you did a 180 for the female, you got to do a 180 for yourself. And that's why often you hear guys speaking jealously. They'll say so-and-so needs to be humbled or so-and-so is cocky. No, you're perplexed because so-and-so loves himself and you don't love yourself. You look at Floyd Mayweather, you call him cocky. No, he loves himself. And that's why he was able to win, because he had the pride to say, I'll never lose. I'll never be embarrassed. I'll never get knocked out in front of millions of people. Pride and ego. And it carried him through because it was real and genuine. Then you look at him and you want to insult him, but he's a winner. You hear me? You can send your insults, but he going to continue flying private, you know, dressing in the latest stuff. It just is what it is. And you're going to sit there hating. And the only reason you hate is because you don't love yourself. That's all there is. It's not that you don't love Floyd Mayweather. It's that you don't love yourself. That's all it is. Anyways, and congratulations for getting off of fentanyl. It's a very hard drug. And I know that it takes a lot to get off of that. So I commend you for that. And I also want to encourage all of you to, you know, come into greater friendship and relationship with the saints. This is a community I've created for you all to benefit, to live a clean, pure, honest life and be around saintly men. It'll lift you up, I promise you. And I make every effort as much as I'm available to be one to love on you, pause, and nourish you guys and give you refuge. You know, there's one of the saints is facing a little bit of time. He said, hey, Marquett, you know, got a case. I got to go serve some time. I said, well, come spend a couple of days with me, man, before you go down. Come spend a couple of days. We'll make it a good time. And we did. And we spent some good time and had some deep conversations and, you know, made some plans for the future. And of course, you know, we make sure that the charges aren't weirdo charges, like anything like, you know, weirdo stuff. Like we're like, bro, like we don't condone, we got to excommunicate you. But, you know, if it's just you made a mistake in life, we forgive that. And so I say that to say, you know, be around good people as much as you can. It'll benefit you greatly. It'll keep you sharp. It'll keep you away from the bad things in life. I promise you. See, a gentleman says his brother died from fentanyl. He commends you as well. There you go. Carrying on. Gentleman writes, she comes from a decent Filipino family, is a great mom. Okay. But once she hit her 30s, I no longer recognized her, and her anger and disgust for me grew now that she's back in school, so focused on becoming a medical doctor, and she's still in community college. She has a long way to go. She may never get there. She would have continued with the relationship and lies had I not confronted her about her affair. Her claim for all the theatrics was, quote, "I was just so done." He writes, which blows my mind. See, that's the problem. Don't let it blow your mind. Don't let that blow your mind. Accept that. Don't let it blow your mind. Accept it. Take it in. That's what real men are able to do. You take the pain in this world, you take the anger, you take the sadness, you take the trauma, you take whatever is out in that world that you got to deal with, you take it all in. You put it inside of a furnace, you burn it up, and you keep going. Don't be mind blown. No, take it in and deal with what it really is. Burn it up and then carry on. Huh? He writes, "What should I do in your opinion?" In my opinion, you should, number one, not be focused on revenge. That can be done at any time. You can pop up 10 years later and get revenge. So that is not your focus right now. Your number one focus is, where do I have weaknesses? Which is to say, where am I vulnerable financially? Where am I vulnerable in terms of my family? If your kids matter to you, if your kids matter to you, is she able to take them away, relocate them, reduce your time with them, if those things matter to you? So I'd be assessing, where am I vulnerable financially, familially, relationally, criminally, and otherwise. She might trump up some fake charges against you, accuse you of battering her. There's all kinds of things she can do. She can accuse you of being on drugs. How will you fare in the court system, the family court system, knowing that you might have a criminal arrest history for drug usage? So those are all things that you need to consider right now. So forget revenge. Where are you vulnerable? Which is to say, what are your assets? What are the things that you prize? What are your interests? And how do you protect those things? That's what I would focus on. Number one. Number two, she's done. You heard me? She's done. The relationship is done. It will never come back again. You said that woman is disgusted with you. Boy, that is the exact opposite emotion of what a woman should have for you. Disgust, my boy. Yeah, it's done. Okay. Shout out to Function or FunnyCon supporting the work. I acknowledge Paul. He writes, "The evil PayPal corporation has restricted my account. Cash App is unavailable in Canada, excluding super chats and thanks. Do you have any other means to receive tuition?" Jason, I believe Jason is on. And if we could send Jason an email, let's remind him that we need an option other than PayPal and Cash App, and obviously other than Venmo. I'm assuming you don't have Venmo because you didn't mention Venmo here. So if you have Venmo, try that out. Otherwise, we can find another option. And yes, it can definitely be done. And yeah, PayPal it's a part of that organization. It is a part of that organization, no doubt. And thank you for the support. I appreciate all of you who support the work. And it will become, they'll make it more difficult to support. You're not looking at a YouTuber, you're looking at a revolutionary when you inevitably find out all of the things I've actually done in the real world, which you'll find out at some point. There's just no doubt about it. You'll be astounded. And you'll find that my travels around the world and the places I've gone to that I've talked about and the places I've gone to that I've not mentioned, you'll find that there's been significant work done, supporting human beings who need support, human beings who are in very tragic situations. And the powers that be, the governments, they'll increasingly make it hard to support and people like me, of which there are very few. You think that there may be others like me, but at best they're podcasters at best. Name what their organization is. Name who they've helped with their own hand. Name where their philanthropic dollars are. How many millions have they put into the organizations that help people in real life? What revolutionary acts have they actually done? Running your mouth is not a revolutionary act. I don't consider being a YouTuber to be like an accomplishment of any sort. Most of these people, they're really just interested in their own self-aggrandizement and self-enrichment. Anyways, the gentleman writes, "What should I do in your opinion? Does a single divorced mom in her 30s who committed adultery statistically have hopes of finding a good man? Well, she doesn't want a good man, right? Because if she wanted a good man, she would keep you. She doesn't want a good man. Maybe right now she wants some excitement. Maybe right now she wants some fun. Maybe right now she wants sexual gratification. Maybe right now she wants a variety of things, but a good man, I don't think is on the list, right? So that's number one. Number two, it matters not. It matters not. She might go out and get a billionaire, guy of her dreams, has nothing to do with you. And see, again, don't let her turn you into a devil. Don't let her turn you into a demon or into a hater. You have to ask yourself, well, what is in this world for me? What do I want? Where am I going? Now is the time to ask you, what's next for you? I tell you what's next for her. We went through all this stuff that you wrote. What's next for her? She's in school trying to become a physician. That sounds cool. That sounds exciting. What's next for her? You know, she has this dance class that she's taking. Maybe she's going to go do a performance. Great, great. What's next for her? She has a trip coming up, international trip with her family. Phenomenal. But what's next for you? That's what you need to be focused on. That is something you need to figure out. That's really important. What's next for you? Who cares what's next for her? He writes, she cheated on me with multiple guys. That's so filthy and evil, man. It's sad. And it saddens me to hear this. It really does. It really does. But you know what? We have a limited amount of time to be sad. And we need to take more time to be effective. We need to take more time to get on to the next thing. This is life. I'm sorry to hear that this happened to you. It really is unfortunate, but it is what it is. And let the end of this YouTube live stream be the end of your sadness. You heard me? Take these points that we are identifying and go ahead and take some actions from there. That's it. We're giving you some action steps. Get to work. We don't have time to be sad. He writes, and they were younger than her and potheads. Well, I don't know if you can necessarily assess that as an issue. I mean, if I understand the letter correctly, which is very well written here, she accepted you when you were recovering from hard drugs. So that's not entirely a surprise. He writes, she even stayed the night at a hotel for 3 nights and paid for it. So this is letting you know that at some level, your peahen must have been weak or she has some strong need. These young boys are definitely, I don't want to say exploiting her, but she's willing to give to them, whether it's giving them the truth, giving them capital, giving them her emotions and her love, but she's not giving to you. She's willing to take from you. She's willing to threaten you. All of this is alarming. You should honestly just be thankful she ain't tried to get you killed. You did. You should be thankful she ain't tried to get you killed. And you might be thinking, Quet, like, are you exaggerating? No, I'm serious. You should be thankful she ain't tried to get you killed, because these are the situations in which people end up dead. These love triangles, bringing men into conflict. Men will kill to maintain their family. Men will kill to maintain their love.